was that? What? What's that sound? Where? It's aliens and they're living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town.
Hello, weirdos out there in Weirdo Land. The gang is not back together tonight. Unfortunately, Vicky is out. She's got a temperature, Beckett. It's a fever. We don't like that. She doesn't like it. Thoughts?
We just wish her the best. Ginger and zinc, I told her, some little turmeric, and she'll feel good. But she did it out of abundance of caution for our own safety.
You're vouching for this ginger.
Ginger and turmeric and zinc. Those are one of the things that aren't just snake oil. It actually helps improve your immune system and recover.
When I thought I was dying last October, there's all these foods you can Google, superfoods to take down all bullshit that's going to kill you. And zinc is always on.
Yeah. Well, Zicam, that's pretty much all Zicam is. It says it shortens colds, and you can buy it at Walgreens or CVS. It's basically just zinc. That's the main thing.
Denny's, what do you think?
What do I think about zinc? I can feel that.
Floor's yours.
I do think there is something to be said about vitamins, because when you eat foods, your body absorbs the vitamins from it. So if you just have enough, your body will just pass out what it doesn't necessarily need. But I'm a big taker of vitamins. I agree. I think ginseng and turmeric can cure a lot of stuff. It's in those ginger shots I take.
Yeah.
I'm pretty big advocate of ginger. I think in the Chinese philosophy, it's they use their foods as medicine. So if you can incorporate foods that are beneficial for you as medicine in your daily intake, then you don't have to think of it as taking medicine for when you're ailed.
That's what I thought was cool. I was in China for a little bit, and they had, when you walk into a pharmacy, they had Eastern medicine and Western medicine. So they had all the pills like you would normally find in a Western type society's pharmacy, but then they also had their herbs that they did both. So I guess, I don't know if the doctor writes a prescription for the herbs, but you walk into a pharmacy and get all that stuff too.
Yeah, you wonder, because they probably have a mix of both of them.
Yeah.
You know, they incorporate some of the Westerns.
How was China? Was that different? Was that weird?
There were some smells that I can never get out of my head, but other than that, it was really interesting.
How different is China than America? Give us a 90-second why it's different.
So in Beijing, it felt very communist, but and very governmental. But to be fair, like when you go to DC, it kind of feels very obviously governmental and as well. Shanghai blew me away because that's like their New York City, and it was, being an American, you kind of go and we're like, all right, we're at the United States, and you go and you see like
It's probably pretty impressive.
It's pretty impressive, and it's kind of scary to be quite frank. You know, it's scary in some ways, but. You bump against your comfort zone and you experience another culture, and I think it's good. But, it's communist or whatever people want to frame that government now as they are. When I was even in Beijing, it was some of the most entrepreneurial people I've ever seen. There's people peddling, Chinese hats to the tourist and everything like that. Pretty capitalistic at the end of the day.
Sweet Denny's, you get to go to one country. You have to live there for a year. You and Jen, she has to go.
Mm-hmm.
You both have to go. Where do you pick?
I've thought about it so many times. I think it would probably be Germany. That seems to be, because she has family out there. She has friends out there. And I think it seems like a cool place. They really,
Yeah.
They just do as the Germans do, as the saying doesn't go.
Do Germans have good food? What's
No.
Give me 3 big time German dishes that's gonna make me wet.
Well, so I don't know if they'll make you wet, but I mean, for a person who enjoys sausage, they do seem to thrive in sausage out there. It seems pretty abundant. I think a lot of it's just since Jen is a friend over there, she has a little bit of communication, and she lives out there. A person who grew up in New York, so living that lifestyle. And she just says the way of life is very much different out there, especially just how they handle everything you do in the day. Even places like France where they shut everything down during lunch for 2 hours because you take time out of the day.
Yeah, the siestas.
It's great. I mean, so there's a lot of Eastern, I guess not quite all the way east, but a lot of Western European philosophies that are pretty cool that I think would be neat to experience.
I think I'm Italy all the way.
I am
really. Jen loved Italy.
Italy just seems as it's romantic.
You get
it's
everything.
Food. You want to eat and you want to fuck, Beckett.
Well, I think that's in every country.
Yeah, if you're out there,
That's just the bird's game.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
if you're trying to eat and fuck, then definitely.
I was trying to come up with a good life quote, and so far I came up with drive German, love Latin, eat Italian, and live American.
Oh,
I feel like it's a good way. You take a little of the best philosophies from all the cultures.
Denny's, he's trying to outquip you.
That was real quippy,
That's
though.
good, that's good.
I mean, that was super
Beckett,
quippy.
yeah.
That's great. That's a great one.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, Italy seems like it would be a good time.
Dude, you got history, you got food, you got the romantics, you just got gorgeous sights. There's just great things all around.
You know that one song, When the Moon Hits Your Eye?
Yeah, Sinatra.
Give me. No, it's not Sinatra.
Who sings that?
It's
Dean Martin, right?
It's the low budget Sinatra, Dean Martin.
And Dean Martin, you could argue, wasn't even necessarily low budget.
I'm kidding.
I know you are.
I'm so
but
kidding.
I'm saying,
Old time fucks do not email me. I respect Dean Martin. I was making an off cuff joke.
Legends is up in arms right now.
Oh my gosh, I get it. Dean Martin is amazing.
Yeah,
but is he really Frank Sinatra? No.
I hear you.
No one will email me by the way. Pretty weird story. I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts, the chat room's thoughts about this. There was a camel beauty contest. Did you guys see this story?
No.
In Dubai, they do this camel beauty contest, and there's big money in it.
I could see that going over the top if it's in Dubai.
But as anything humans are involved in, there's money involved, so there's going to be cheating involved. And they had to disqualify 40 camels because there was Botox involved. There was face, I don't know, they were doing cheek bullshit.
Jeez.
Lip injections. And are the camels down with that?
No.
No,
Fuck
there's no
no.
way they care.
Hell,
That-
they care, they hate it.
Yeah.
That camel, though, I'm just kidding. Who knows? I think that's messed up. But, I mean, Botox for people is because they want, your lips to look full and plump or your cheeks or whatever. So for camels, does it necessarily add any beauty to them?
They said this year authorities discovered dozens of breeders that had stretched out the lips and noses of camels.
Terrible.
To do this, they used hormones to boost the breast muscles. They injected camels, their heads, their lips with Botox to make them bigger. They inflated body parts with rubber bands. That is so fucked up.
Messed up.
I just hope they did the contest on Wednesday.
Oh, the subtle.
Yeah, camels really got the short. Camels, mice, and rats, man.
They got it rough. Animal testing in general, I mean, it was forever unregulated. They just did it rampantly.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know,
I remember when those stories emerged in my childhood.
You know, it's interesting. As a kid, what do you think the humps of most people as a kid think the humps of a camel are?
Like it's boobs.
Back
or
titties.
butt.
Water. As a kid, I always thought, like when I was really
Well,
young.
yeah, that's what it is. I
You
think it's
say
yeah.
boobs?
I said, yeah, boobies.
Okay, thank
No,
God.
no, it's kind of a random fact. Sorry, that they actually have fat stored in their humps. So because they live in hot temperatures, if they had fat insulating their body, they'd be really hot.
Yeah.
So what they do is all of their fat gets stored up in their humps, whether a 1 hump or a 2 hump camel. So it's their energy stores. So, some person that goes right to their butt or right to their thighs. Camels, it goes right to their hump. But it's just stored fat, stored energy. Isn't that weird?
It is.
I always heard that the camels had water in their humps.
I always thought it was
is that,
water in the
Is that fiction?
It's fiction. It's fat. It's fat.
That's bullshit.
Well, so does
bullshit.
the fat absorb water and just store it? Like they got it just holds
Fat
it well.
does store water, but my understanding, the whole purpose of the hump is so that they don't get hot and it stores their energy
That's
on
great.
top.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, camels have great toes though.
We had a topic. We had a topic on the KVJ show about beauty contests and whether they should be outlawed or not.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Like
And
the
what are
children, what about children's beauty contests or in general?
Well, the topic was just beauty contest in general, that it demeans women, and I think you had to argue that point in
I
the
did
bit
in
when you called
Master
Master
Debater.
Debater. Chat room, let me know your opinion. Are beauty contests something that we should get rid of, or is it, or do you have the perspective as, I'm a woman, I know what I'm doing, I'm signing up for this shit, so let me do my fucking thing. That's where I'm at. I feel like you can sign up for something, whether it's popular or not. You can sign up and do it. If you're into it, no one should give a shit.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I totally agree. I think it kind of falls in the quote "Live American" because I'm not into the beauty contest thing. I think it's unhealthy. I think there's a bunch of things. I could go on a 5-minute conversation with you guys about why I don't think it's healthy and why I don't think it's interesting and all of these other things.
Go, give us some points why you think it's unhealthy. And I see the point with what you're saying.
Yeah. So you're just basing a competition based on superficiality, and I would prefer basing something on a talent, like voice in American Idol. At least it's based on a talent that you have, right? But people, go to the gym, they work out, they do their makeup in a certain way, they go really over the top with their dresses. And, where do you draw the line if all of a sudden you say, oh, this isn't healthy, you can't do that, If people want to shoot guns, I'm not into guns, but I believe in the Second Amendment, and if someone's into shooting guns and they do it in a legal way, God bless them.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different opinion. People who are against beauty contests, there's going to be many people who are for beauty contests. So who's right? The people who think beauty contests are terrible, or the people who say, I know what I'm getting myself into, let me be a person, let me do my own thing. It kind of goes to what really is right or wrong when it comes to these things. People always will think their opinion is right, it's the gospel, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What is right or wrong? I know that murder is wrong. We all know that. But there's so many other subset conversations you can have about what is right or wrong. And it really comes down to what's your personal opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And what's better for society? I went to a Dolphins game recently, and a couple of the girls we were with were making fun of the cheerleaders. So, and they're like, how unnecessary is that? That's ridiculous. And I'm like, it's part of football. It's Americana. And, you could make probably an argument, it's objectifying women. You could go to the other side. But if the people like it, it's not hurting anyone. That's kind of where I kind of do my test. If it doesn't hurt anyone and the free market people, Dolphins fans, TV people watching, if they think it's a good part of football, then it should exist.
Yeah, I totally agree. So kind of to the other point of the beauty contest, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just some people are going to like it and some are not. Some people are going to be offended by it and some are not. And it's all going to be on how they were raised or whatever they experienced in their lives that makes them not like it.
Where there might be a bifurcation for me is where it's little kids. The John Benet Ramseys of the world.
Yeah, that's when it gets.
Because that's a beauty.
That's weird.
That's a beauty contest for people that, just like you probably shouldn't smoke pot or drink alcohol when you're very young. Your brain's not fully developed.
Yeah.
You put a kid in that kind of scenario and dealing with those kind of societal and cultural pressures of looking a certain way, being a certain weight and all that stuff. I think that's unhealthy.
Controversial thought or opinion that really shouldn't be controversial, but it will be. Some women like to be looked at and objectified. They like to, hey, look at me. Some guys like that too. Some people want to throw out their body and have carnal, lusty thoughts about how they look.
Yeah.
Now that's not everybody, but there's definitely a type of person that loves to work out, show off their body, and have everyone look at them and admire them.
Yeah.
And to act like that does not exist, you're insane.
Well, people like to play to their strengths. So, if someone's really attractive and people are going to be like, oh, well, we shouldn't do things based on attractiveness. I think, in my opinion, a lot of attractive people are going to be pissed.
Of course.
If you're, if we personify cars and all of a sudden, fast cars aren't legal, all the fast cars are going to be pissed. That's what plays to their strength. They're not a cargo van. They're not holding a lot of people,
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Well, just because you're not into something and you are so against it doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, there's
It doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, I
or
hate
good.
techno music. I fucking hate it with a passion.
Yeah.
But I can't.
It should still exist.
Yeah, I go to bed knowing there's so many people that love techno, and I'm just being a hater because I don't get it. But I'm not right. It's just my opinion.
A lot of Americans don't like soccer. The rest of the world loves it.
I mean, it's the biggest
Just
sport.
because we don't like soccer doesn't mean it shouldn't be a sport,
Absolutely.
It's different things for different people, and that's what makes the world great.
I don't like anything that ends in a tie, Beckett.
That's
I
right.
like a winner or a loser.
Something definitive.
I hate ties. Oh, do you like ties, Denny's?
I don't think anyone likes them truly. I mean, if both people, you know, they're clawing to the end, and the other one helps carry, and they get a tie. Then I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you want kind of like a winner, right?
And I think I think I'm right that some soccer matches, depending on the format, like in the World Cup, like in certain tournaments, it can't end in a tie, right? Like you have to go to
So is
sudden
that where
death.
they had one where a game went on forever because they couldn't end it? It couldn't end. It has to end with some sort of difference in score of like 2.
There's an HBO. It's obviously a comedy thing. It's with Andy Samberg and the dude that plays Jon Snow.
Yes,
They're
and
in Wimbledon.
Tennis.
Yeah, they're in
Yes.
Wimbledon, and the match never ends. It goes on for I think 7 days. And
Yeah, it's 7 Days of Hell or something.
yeah, I think
that's what it's called.
It's so over the top. But yeah,
That's a funny concept.
it is a funny concept when you have to have a winner. Theoretically, it could go on forever,
Until somebody concedes.
and that's really what that thing's about. is it
Doesn't
going on forever?
doesn't NFL have some ties? Didn't the Lions have a tie? The Detroit Lions before they finally won, they had a tie, I think.
Denny, why don't you handle this? 'Cause Denny loves the fucking Lions.
The Detroit Lions, they have what, a red logo?
No, it's blue lion.
So the Blue Lions, they I think they had a good season, right? I couldn't even think of any football terms to
There's
use.
a rule for weird whatever. No football.
I couldn't even think of. I was gonna say like end zone, or I was gonna say touchback.
Vicky, if you're just tuning in, she is sick. She has a fever tonight. Not gonna come in, which we all thank you, Vicky. But she had a great story. She had an investigation at the Stanley Hotel
Yeah, she was out there.
that she's going to tell us about next week. But it's very haunted.
Where's the Stanley Hotel?
Big teaser.
It's a great question.
Colorado. I believe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think she went out there. I think she posted some photos on the old.
Have you ever
Facebook.
heard of it? Because I know you lived out in Rods.
So they have there's a hotel in Colorado Springs, I guess, that Stephen King stayed at, but the one that he wrote The Shining, I guess, based on is up there by Denver. So
Colorado it looks beautiful. It seems very fun, kind of in the now. There's weed legal there, but it also reeks of murder.
oh yeah,
Would
well,
you
there's
say-
a lot of space to leave people out at.
What's the most murderous state we have in our country? Is Colorado up there?
Northern California, right? They do documentaries. We've talked about it before.
Humboldt County. Have you ever heard
Yeah,
of this?
that's a pretty
Beckett?
big.
It's this weird county out in California. Do you know about it pretty well, right, Denny?
Yeah, I saw a couple documentaries. There was that one documentary. It has a great title. It leads you in thinking it's the Bigfoot murders people on the pot farm. That documentary, no offense to it, is not that great. But they do a really good piece on Northern California in the Humboldt County, and it became like a drug trade central. And it was because the terrain was very tough to navigate through, and a lot of like moving troops through it was kind of tough, but they had good places to hide, and they just pretty much free people went out there and just governed their own land, and it's kind of started like that.
I think too, it's a big weed area. Renegades go out there and they start growing, or they get involved in the weed trade.
And there's already a few groups that do it now, so you can it's a lot of people are like college dropouts and people who tend to be vagrant find themselves there.
But it's hard for the law to regulate everything going on there. And there's a theory that serial killers go out there to kind of almost as their Rumspringa to get out there, whatever their
Because you
serial.
can kill anyone.
You can kill a lot of people and kind of get away with it.
There's some like towns there that have no populations. You can just roll through. You could probably just go through, kill, and leave. I mean, not that I want to.
I'm on
but
spring break. I'm just gonna do a little killing for about 10 days. Just get a little relaxed. Come on back. I think that's how serial killers feel after they kill.
I would not use a credit card because I wouldn't want anything to lead me. Because clearly, if a couple people cut through town and then somebody goes dying,
Oh, if you were the murderer, you
yeah,
wouldn't. Well, yeah,
you would
I
have
mean,
to. There would be.
Come on.
If you're the
That's
murderer,
101.
like these amateur murderers that just dump the body, that's JV. You got to get rid of the body. Like,
Well, I think there's a few things going on here in this Humboldt County. It's Humboldt, I believe,
Yes,
right?
yes. BT.
I think you've got people going there just to murder. I think you also have drug shit going on. You have drug murders where you
So
have
those
turf.
they murder amongst themselves.
what drug is highest correlated with murder? Because it certainly can't be weed.
In Humboldt County, it's pot. I'm sure they run
Really?
cocaine too.
And-
Maybe with the trade, but no high person's killing someone.
Well,
No,
so
it's
on
not
this-
about
purpose.
that, though.
These are the people growing it and distributing it. And what's happening is California's made it legal, so they had a lot of competition. There was like a whole thing where they were trying to stop it because they were making so much money on it illegally.
But don't you think the more legal a state has marijuana, the less death and illicit trade and black
So,
markets of it?
as time goes on, Humboldt County might clear up a little bit. I think it's a lot of it's the terrain and the past that it already had.
But I also think, Becky, you're thinking about it on two different wavelengths here. One is, hey, we smoke weed, we don't want to kill. I agree with that. This has to do with money, people fucking each other over, people,
it's like Breaking Bad.
drug deals. But I mean, even on a weed level, that shit happens
Oh,
all
definitely.
the time because there's so much money involved.
well, back in the day, California was a humongous distributor of pot. So I mean, that's their claim to fame. They were mean motor scooters.
yeah, California. If you look at California, a lot of
humongous.
lot of serial killers, a lot of murder, one-off murder and serial killer murder, bizarre murder stories there.
Well, think about I mean, from what I've seen, I didn't grow up in the era, but it seemed like a lot of people were very trusting and then slowly became less trusting.
Back in the day.
Yeah, so I mean, in California too, people are going and partying, getting, high and stuff, and they're all hanging out very uncautiously because they're hanging out and partying, And
Well, think about the
nobody
mo-
thinks of murders yet. There's no internet, so it was probably really easy to kill. They probably killing like crazy.
Think about how the most fucked up you've ever been in your life. How easy would it be to have killed you?
Oh yeah, you wouldn't even know. You'd be so drunk, you would just think that you passed out, and then you would stop existing.
Yeah, I when I first started drinking, there was this club called Flirts. I've talked about it before, and you just don't know how to handle your alcohol back in the day. And all my friends had left. I was so drunk on the side of Okeechobee Boulevard. I started to hitchhike.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy pulled up. It was probably about 1:30 in the morning. And it was, looking back, I still can see his face. He had just everything about this guy was fucking horrifying.
Serial killer.
It really was. And I was about to get in this guy's car because I was dumb. I didn't know. Maybe it's funny. I'll get in a car. Hey, guys, what a great story. I hitchhike home back from Flirts. And as I'm getting ready to get into the car, my buddy, out of the blue, I have an arm grab me on the shoulder. Go, what the fuck are you doing? My buddy Murph
Yeah.
stayed behind and saw the whole thing develop. And thank God. Now, nothing could have possibly
For sure.
happened. But I just remember that guy was horrified. 1:30 in the morning on Okeechobee Boulevard. He ain't up to no. He ain't up to anything good.
Yeah, not advisable.
No.
But I mean, I've had a bunch of situations like that where it could have easily gone wrong.
Yes.
It's fun and failure. They both start off the same,
And I even remember, even as drunk as I was, my gut was kind of going, I don't know, Bird, this guy looks a little off. What are you doing? And as I'm going through that process, I get the tap on the shoulder. But weird things, I would love to know how they would play out if you could said,
Like sliding door
yeah,
style.
exactly. You ever
Ooh,
see that movie?
great movie.
That is a good movie.
It's one of my top 5.
For anyone that doesn't know that movie, what's a quick synopsis about that?
So Gwyneth Paltrow lives in London. She kisses her fiance, goes to work, and she stumbles down the steps to the underground for the subway for London. And at that point, the movie transitions into 2 storylines. One where she goes about her day as she would. The other, she misses the train, hence sliding doors, and she goes back home. And then the storylines run simultaneously. It's one little nuanced thing of her morning, and then the movie really mind F's you in the sense that it totally changes her life direction just by that
incident.
that step stumble.
This has been something that has fucked with my head since I was a little kid. I've always thought, what if I waited 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes? What if I went left?
Yeah, all that
even though
stuff
that
plays a
left
factor.
goes right to the same spot where the right would have gone, it just takes you 2 minutes out that way. It does alter a chain of events, no?
What if you
100%.
take the same elevator always, and then somebody on the way out of work catches you? That changes the course of everything. What if you now run into somebody else that you would have never even spoken to that day,
It really
And that holds them up. What if that somehow butterfly effects into something else that affects your life?
And it would be kind of cool to go back if you could on a spreadsheet that just said, okay, back in '89, Beckett, if you would have talked to that person instead of talking to that person, this is where your life
would have started
and you
Google.
can almost see this kind of chart of how it went.
Would you want to see that though? You get to the end and they're like,
It's maddening, kind of. When you really get caught, because I remember being a little kid thinking about this and being very obsessed about it to the point where it kind of hindered some things. And I would go, well, let me wait 3 minutes. I wonder if that changes it. If I wait 5 minutes, let me go left instead of right. And it kind of fucks with your head. I kind of feel like you have to go with feel and just do what you got to do in life. You can't overthink it.
You can't
definitely
overthink
not
it.
overthink it.
You can't overthink it, but you definitely have to take opportunities. I think that's the one value you can take out of that kind of story or aside is that you have to take opportunities. Like that movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Like just by him saying yes to things, like, it's a funny story, but it's like how his life changed by just saying like, yeah, I'll come to that dinner. Yeah, I'll show up for that jog. It's amazing how your life can change by doing that kind of stuff.
It's crazy. That movie, as goofy as it was, it does make you think, and it made me want to say yes more when I saw that movie. And I started to do, we're talking a shitty experiment of doing it, but I remember saying to myself, say yes more. And when you do say yes more, you do have opportunities and moments. But the power of no is still very,
That's
very
true.
You should
important.
do no, man. You say no to everyone.
That's true.
And then you just live your life happily.
It's a very boring movie.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. I had a friend that I was talking to about all of the stuff that we're talking about, and he almost died from an equestrian accident. And I had a bad breakup at the time, and he made me listen to a Darius Rucker song, This. So it's kind of the other side of what we're talking about. And basically the theme of the song is every red light I missed, every whatever, it led me here to this. So if you kind of think of it more of like a hippie kind of way, you're like, yeah, that girl that broke up with me, that deal that didn't go through, all of that other stuff, like it all led me to where I'm here now, and I'm thankful for that.
Well, to keep on that country train, there's a Garth Brooks song called Unanswered Prayers. Have you ever heard that song?
Mm-mm.
Beckett, I know what a cheese dick you are.
Yeah.
I'm the same kind of cheese dick.
Yeah.
And we're in the cheese dick avenue. You would love Garth Brooks' Unanswered Prayers. Because it's basically, thank God for God not answering my unanswered prayers.
Maybe I have heard it, but I have to re-listen to it
Which
on the way
led
home.
him to the woman. Yeah, it's so
It's
right
great.
in the fucking 90s.
Yeah.
Right in the dick of the field.
The chorus
It's great.
opens up.
That's great.
Oh, it's so cheese dick.
I'm
It's
going to
so
jam out on the way home for
Third
sure.
chorus, you're
Promise
weeping
me you listen to
slowly.
that song
100%.
on the way.
Without a doubt. I'll probably sing it on the way home.
You'll text me and go, Bird, I'm moved.
That's great. A little misty-eyed.
I'm balling, man.
I love
Well, I
it.
think with that beautiful segue, it's time for some
Denny's Random Facts.
We don't have Vicky today. And I'm getting a lot of comments that I'm too mean to you, Denny's. So I'm
Is
just
this
gonna,
a free course
I'm
then?
just gonna let you just do your fucking shit. I'm not gonna rip on you.
All right, it's like open mic.
We're just going to enjoy it.
All right, sit
You're
back.
very fragile. You can't take any kind of ribbing.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I do appreciate
We're
it.
gonna
It's
get-
ribbed for his pleasure.
We're gonna get to all. We've all been called out about our shit that annoy people. Do you want to get into that later, Becca?
Sure.
Yeah,
I
let's
kind
get
of wanted
into
Vicky
it.
to be here for that. Maybe we'll wait. I don't
We'll
know.
see what happens with time. Until then,
Give us your factoids, Denny's.
let's see. So I thought this was kind of a weird perspective just to put things into for you guys history-wise. Cleopatra lived closer in history to cell phones than she did to the Great Pyramids of Egypt. So Cleopatra was the last active ruler of Egypt, born around 69 BC. The Great Pyramids were completed around 2560 BC.
Oh, wow.
Cell phones debuted in 1983. So if you do the difference, it's actually quite a bit of difference how much closer she is to cell phones than she is to the Great Pyramids being completed.
It's interesting.
How weird is that, right?
I
You
loved
would've
it.
thought-
We'll have the chat room in our YouTube chat room. They will be our grades. That was a great idea from Angie Hollywood in the chat room. Good idea. They'll grade you.
Yeah,
I thought it was
let them
great,
grade
Denny's. Good job, sweetie.
Thank you.
Do you
I
think she would
appreciate
be
it.
pretty by today's standards?
It's a great question.
I think people looked way different back in the day.
They talk about how hot Mary Todd was.
Who's Mary Todd?
Was that Abe Lincoln?
Mary Todd Lincoln? How?
Oh, really?
Oh, dude, they said she was fine as fuck.
They said she was a stunner.
They said she was a straight up
don't
club
know.
stunner.
I don't
She's
know
arm
about
candy?
that.
I think Ben Franklin said she's a straight up stunner. I don't fucking know.
I don't know
everything
about
up
that.
right
There's
now.
no way.
This Jack Daniels Tennessee whiskey in a can's kicking in.
That's
Clearly, they're supposedly very good.
By the way, Denny, I thought that was great.
Let's see here. Did you guys know this? And I didn't even know that they would do this, but sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. So a sloth can slow its heart rate down and hold its breath for up to 40 minutes, whereas a dolphin has to come up for air every 10 minutes. Weird. Why would a sloth need to hold its breath that long? But I guess it's basically that it could slow its heart rate down.
This is for all my old people out there. If this is a garbage pail kid, David Lee Sloth.
What would the flip side be?
What's that?
What would the flip
You
side be?
motherfucker.
I'm trolling.
Only old people know what we're talking about right now.
You're absolutely.
We're,
I saw that.
We're losing everybody.
I saw that stack out there though. They were looking good.
I got garbage pail kids in my lobby, Beckett.
He's got a whole bunch of them.
On your first, in your first factoid, pretty much everyone gave you a B.
Oh, very cool.
And on the sloth one, I see a lot of C.
See,
dog.
well,
I see a lot of-
the sloth might be the C student of the animal kingdom. So let's see. Did you know people used to say prunes instead of cheese when having their pictures taken?
Ooh, prunes.
Prunes. It was because in the 1840s, they used to say prunes because it would make your face look taunt.
All right.
Kind of like today's duck face.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take
What
a
do girls say
selfie.
when they do a duck face?
What?
I don't know.
Oh. I was waiting for a joke.
I'm going to do a selfie right now, Denny's, and we're going to see if it really helps.
So, yes.
So, prune. You
So
say
go prune.
Okay.
And then cheese.
All right. Prune. All right. So
Kinda doing the same.
there's my prune pic.
All right.
Look in the camera right there.
All right.
What do you guys think?
Very 1840s. Over
Is
here.
do I have an 1840s look about myself? Now we're gonna compare that to the cheese. Is it that I look so high in that picture? Oh my gosh! All right, 3, 2, 1, cheese. And now here's the difference. I don't know. The cheese makes me look a little bit more modern. I feel.
Definitely more modern.
I think cheese gives you the best look.
Cheese gives you the grin. Prune gives you the model look.
Prune makes me think, ooh, I'm 1720s.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah, we're not doing that.
What do you guys think about this? In the 1880s, a hosiery businessman named Lamarcus Thompson hated that Americans were so tempted by hedonistic places such as salons, brothels, prostitutes. So he went to straighten out one of the most immoral places of the area, Coney Island, and he built the very first roller coaster. So the first roller coaster, he wanted to create something that would create a rush that you get kind of like from prostitution and drugs. But he was trying to find a sober way to do it. So he built America's very first roller coaster.
And that was in Coney Island?
Coney Island
Well, that
in New
itself
York.
is interesting. That was like
Yes.
2 facts and a fact.
It's a double fact, you know.
You ever had a Coney dog?
I've been to Coney Island. I don't know if I ever had a dog out there though.
If you've had a Coney dog, let me know. Do they put cheese sauce in the Coney dog? Is that part of their deal?
I haven't had one at Coney Island, but Skyline Chili, because my family's from the West Virginia, Cincinnati region, and Skyline Chili is freaking huge there. They sell it in Publix in the freezer section.
All right.
And they have a Coney Island hot dog. I think that's what it's called. It's called something like that. It is phenomenal.
Well, you're bragging about that. I went to a Sonic in Orlando and had a dog with cheese on it, kind of Coney style.
Nice.
Kind of like your story.
yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
All right.
See, sharing experiences is fun. Let's see here. Dunce caps actually used to be a sign of intelligence. The 13th century philosopher John Duns Scotus believed that the pointed cap would spread knowledge to the tip of your brain. But as the years passed and his philosophies became less popular, it started actually becoming a running joke. It's kind of the equivalent of calling somebody Einstein if they did something stupid. So as a joke, a cruel joke, they would put a dunce cap on somebody saying like, "Oh, you're so smart," and they'd make them sit. So that's how it became a symbol of dumb.
Did you ever have a dunce cap put on you as a kid?
I did not.
No.
Did you ever have a teacher put you in a corner?
No.
Yes.
I got checks on the board. Does that still exist, you think? When you get a
Oh,
check?
there's no way you can put a kid's name on the board with Johnny, you're being a dick, name on the board. There'd be a fucking story on Yahoo News.
Fair enough.
I think there would be.
Yeah.
I don't think
You can't. I don't think you can do any of that stuff. You got to give him like a heart or something.
Yeah, Johnny, you're being a nice dick. Let me put a heart on the board. Good job, Johnny.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on.
Nah, 100%.
Teachers are always telling me how
It's got to be tough to be a teacher right now.
They say all of my teachers, every single one. I'm not speaking for Jen because everyone knows she's a teacher, but they all say they are not allowed to discipline these kids. If they do, it turns into a fucking nightmare.
I feel bad that teachers have to discipline the kids, but at that young age, how do you not? How do you not discipline a kid?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if you've ever seen Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman, they used to call me Crazy Joe. Now they call me Batman.
You quote that movie so much.
Because he got that fucking School in Order, Denny's.
I hear you. To Sir with Love, he also got that School in Order. Sidney Poitier.
I do think discipline does help at times.
Without a doubt.
Dude,
Yeah.
it definitely helps. I could get, when I was a kid, I could get in legit trouble if my teacher said I did something dumb or bad. My parents would be like, "What?" And they would there would be no contest. I would have to be grounded. I would have to deal with that.
I started seeing it towards the end of my baseball career with teaching kids. And I loved doing it. It was so much fun in the beginning. I loved coaching. And man, within 5 years, it all started to change. And I noticed it. And then it started to kind of speed up. I'm going, no, these parents are just assholes. And then it was so prevalent of parents not at all disciplining their asshole kids.
Yeah.
Kids can be assholes. They let them do whatever the fuck they want. I always tell the story. There was this kid in the parking lot. He had a bat, and he was hitting the bumper of someone else's car. And I'm talking to the mom, and she's watching him, and it's not their car. And she's not saying anything. And I finally go, hey, should we not have him hit the car? It's like, stop, Johnny. And he kept doing it. And that was all the discipline, and he kept doing it. It's sickening to me.
Nah, it's a recipe for
It
disaster.
makes me fucking want to throw up when you don't discipline your kids like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. It's
You're
rough for
raising
everyone in the whole
assholes.
area. Everybody has to deal with it.
You're raising assholes.
Yeah, 100%.
They're gonna grow up shaking fists at everything.
I mean, I know I sound old as fuck, but I get why old people complain about shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it too.
There's a reason why shit's cliche.
Yeah, 100%.
When I was a kid, I used to always be like, "Lighten up," you know. It's so funny, but now I get it. You just can't grasp the concept of.
You can't take a bat to someone's bumper that's not your
definitely.
car, and then the mom not discipline you, and then the kid gets a fucking ice cream. That should never happen.
No, that's how you raise a serial killer.
That's how you raise a serial killer.
You do.
You do.
It sucks.
Yeah, you gotta feel bad at times as a human. You have
I think
to.
as a parent, there's got to be way upside when there's something that's done great, and there's got to be great downside when something's bad.
Everything is balanced. I'm such an unbalanced or imbalanced fuck. I'm very extreme. And even as an extreme person, I know how important balance. You have to have balance in all aspects of your life.
Well, hear me out on this. In a weird way, not to be too philosophical, but the more extremes you have on both sides, the more balanced it makes you. It does.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't
Becky.
know about
Denny's
that.
counter that.
I don't know about
Counter
that.
that.
Well, think about it.
No, you're
if
correct.
if you have a seesaw and you have more extremes, the further out it goes, the more balanced the seesaw gets.
I see what you're saying. I think the term balance might be used slightly different in the sense that it's a balance of both instead of an extreme of both.
And
then
I'm talking
balancing on a
more
scale.
on mental health too. I'm just saying, just being.
But
a
I love
human-
the theory.
Well, yeah, the more cocaine, the more. I
Yeah,
get it.
you
I
balance
get
it out with
Yeah,
church
I
and-
get
I
it.
went to my brother's bachelor party, and one of my best friends that came on it, he's a veterinarian doctor. He hasn't partied in 4 years. He's been buried in books and residencies and fellowships. He was the craziest person out of all of us. Because, we talked about physics and how there's always an equal and opposite reaction. He just needed to hit that pressure release valve. He's one of my best friends. He was our entertainment for the weekend. Because
he
there needs
was
to be
fucked up. He was getting fucked up, or he was not fucked up.
beyond.
Fucked up.
Beyond.
I did want to.
But I think that's the balance in it. He's been so repressed for 4 years, he needed to blow it out. He needed to clean the pipes.
I could understand that.
I wanted to go on more of a. You had said you had done ayahuasca as a spiritual thing.
I have friends doing the Beaufort Toad now, which is also DMT.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they? Well,
They're
so
smoking it.
That's crazy.
And like people you wouldn't
that's
think.
that toad licking.
It's
People you
doesn't
wouldn't
sound
think.
right, Denny's.
Well, so I think so. You're saying because I didn't even know this. They're extracting that and then making it into a smokable thing.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. Bufo toads has always been the enemy back here.
How high does America have to get? That's crazy.
Well, that's always been my question, and I want to get back to your ayahuasca trip, but it really is always my question. You're talking about bufo toads, and we're taking, I don't know, fucking bufo nutsack juice, whatever it is. How many other animals have they already tried to get high off of? And how many more animals are just waiting, going, oh shit, man, I'm a donkey, and they're gonna try to suck and smoke my balls?
That's right.
They are.
Well, to be fair, we're just taking the elements that we have on this earth and we're using them for
You're absolutely right.
fuel our cars or to get high or to give us nutrition or whatever. And whether it's marijuana, alcohol that we're drinking right now, technically that's a poison.
Yeah.
Literally
It
a
really
poison.
is. I love alcohol.
Same with
Me
the
too.
psilocybin.
I love alcohol, and I get shit now. I mean, we talk about weed quite a bit on the air, and I still get these Bible thumpers that tell me, Bird, you guys are contributing, blah, 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 weed. But then I'll always ask them, do you drink alcohol? And 6 out of 10 times, it's, yes, I do, but it's legal. Now we're talking human semantics, and I don't...
And when something's growing in legality too, then it kind of ruins that point.
There's been a lot of things historically without citing the actual cases, but there's, as we all know, a lot of things, even in the United States, that have been legal in our history that is morally and ethically very wrong. So that should never be, in my opinion, the moral compass for people is exactly what's legal or not legal.
Definitely not. That's
because we've all evolved.
Absolutely. Those
Yeah.
are just, and some laws are so old.
Oh, ridiculous.
Well, if you look at Florida sex laws, there is some weird shit.
you can't get fellatio or have
Or you
ass,
can't
butt
do
sex.
anal sex. You can't get a blowjob in
Prudes.
a car.
Everyone in Florida is a criminal.
You can't walk a
South
donkey
Florida.
sexily across the street. Is sexily a word?
I think so.
Sexily?
I like it.
Yes.
Is that a word, Chatter? Let me know.
It's going to be an Urban Dictionary soon.
Yes. I think you can make an advert out of almost anything.
Man, that horse is walking sexily across the street.
Sexually strolled. that horse.
Sexually. Sexually.
Sexually is what I'm trying to say. It's just tough. It's a tough one.
It's very tough. But the question I really had with the ayahuasca, I know we've covered it before. You had taken it, I feel like a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
and it was more of you going in there on a spiritual level, trying to get some answers.
With a shaman.
A year and a half later, do you still feel the effects, or does it wear off like all things humans kind of wear off on?
So there's no effect from the drug itself. Like that ends after the 5-hour ceremony. You're literally stone sober. You're not hungover. You're not like alcohol or anything like that. People ask me, "Oh, did it change you?" No, it didn't, but it makes you very aware of things. So it's what you do with that afterwards. So I journaled afterwards just to anchor all the things that I experienced in that 5-hour ceremony. So every once in a while I'll go back and look at it because I'll be like, oh yeah, remember that thing that I had in that ceremony? Oh yeah, I totally ignored that and haven't like really focused on it. So I try to like, it's like a book you can't finish, or it's like meditation we've talked about where it's healthy to pursue meditation, but it's hard and whatever. So that's kind of how my ayahuasca experience was. It made me very aware of things. And then I try to like go back and I'll get busy with work and life and all that stuff. And then 3 months later, I'd be like, oh yeah, I've totally ignored that revelation I had during ayahuasca. I need to go back and work on that. And that's the best way I can convey it.
Do you ever get that way, Denny's, when you smoke weed? 'Cause sometimes I do, and it's odd because I'll smoke weed and all of a sudden a memory or a moment will come back. And I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I'm meditating, but I'm in a meditative state, so to speak. And it reminds me of, oh yeah, I don't want to do that again, or I learned something, or it reminds you of a moment you shouldn't have done. It almost kind of brings back the learning part.
It does. Yeah, I find that, all memories, depending on how impactful they were on you, can really kickstart you to make changes, to motivate, all sorts of stuff. And I feel if you smoke pot, sometimes it can really exasperate those. I feel I don't know. Some days, and maybe it's just because I smoke weed pretty frequent. So I mean, it's hard to differentiate.
I love how you're
it's like
trying
true...
to. I love how you're trying to water down your weed consumption.
So when I'm barely ever smoking pot, it's hard to differentiate if this is what I would go through naturally, or is it a revelation I'm having because of pot smoking. It's just hard to tell. You can't really differentiate them. So, but I feel that it does exasperate memories I have of changes I want to make personally or thoughts, and a lot of that stuff I think depending on how impactful it was as a memory, is there to constantly, you probably have thoughts of your mother, there's probably thoughts of loved ones you've lost, past animals you've had. There's so many different thoughts, and each one stops you for a second, and then you can either motivate from it or just continue what you're doing.
Situations that I handled wrong, that I'm either ashamed of or embarrassed about, they will come back sometimes through a meditation. Those cringe moments we all have in your life going, why did I handle it that way? Why did I react that way? That can happen times with marijuana. Yeah. And I think that there's a good and a bad thing with all of that. I think it's good to be reminded of things, hit a reset button to learn from it, but I also think you should never live in a low place.
Definitely not.
And go, oh my God, that moment, and then stay there.
No.
Because no matter who you are, we all have had that moment where you go, man, I handled that wrong. Damn, I feel stupid. Man, that was cringy what I did. And I think if you know that about everyone has that, it does make it a little bit easier to swallow.
100%. So I have a whole thing because I deal with a lot of clients in different ways and, in a certain demographic. And my one rule is someone has to be self-aware. And I use that in friendship and I use that in clients.
I get it.
So I have some crazy clients that are some of my favorite people and my best friends. And they know they're crazy. So they'll rake me over the coals about a certain thing on a certain deal, and then they come back later the next day or the next week and they apologize and they're aware of it. Where I have a problem with is when someone they're not aware that they're difficult or they're crazy or all of whatever the characteristics they have. So my point is I can deal with people that are crazy and or angry or aggressive or whatever, so long as they're if they're not self-aware, it's a deal breaker for me.
Me and Denny's talk about this all the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't feel this way. In my opinion, self-awareness is the single most important trait a human can have. If you don't have self-awareness, you are so totally fucked on so many levels. You need to know when you're annoying. You need to feel when you are rubbing people the wrong way. If you don't, that's a problem.
It's a problem.
Now, it's different if you know you're rubbing people the wrong way and you continue to do it. I'm okay with that. I like your point. People who are crazy and then they say, hey, Bert, I know I'm crazy. I respect you more. I like when people own up to their shit. I am fucking insane. Yeah. I get that.
But you own it.
You have to. You have to. Self-awareness, you're going to live a very difficult life. Denny's?
Oh, it will definitely make your life difficult. But yeah, I think owning it's a big one too. Because, I mean, really, you look down, anything you do in your life, like you say, these embarrassing moments, everybody has them and you glimpse them. But whenever you think back on them, the moment is so... I'm losing my train of thought. I apologize. I had a good point, too.
Well, this is one of those moments that, tomorrow you go, I don't want to think about this moment.
Well, you hit a lot of my bullet points, too, so we'll just leave it at that.
No. You 110%. I know what you're trying to say. You have to... I think I've lost my train of thought.
I hear you. I was side reading a comment when I started that.
But it's the same thing for dating. If you date a person and they're not aware of their own shit, it's a deal breaker.
It is.
It's a deal breaker.
It is, man. I do like... This was I'm bringing it back. My point is people can do shitty things. And, of course, there's always a list of shitty things someone can do to you that's outside the realm of awful. We're not talking about that. But we've all been in a relationship, whether it's friendship, it's work, it's business, whatever, where there's some shitty behavior going on back and forth. And it's always a cool thing when someone owns up to their shitty behavior and say, look, I was an asshole, man. I was going through this. I was going through that. For me personally, I end up liking that person more. I grow closer to that person because now I can relate to that guy or girl.
Oh,
I'm going, yeah, dude, I get it. I fuck up all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a human.
once somebody becomes human, it makes them way more likable. There's people that you hate, and then they do something human, and you can relate to them. They're not this object now, not this just like focus of attention, you know?
I'll add one more thing to the algorithm. So in addition to being self-aware, it's intent. It's intent. I mean, they use
Intent's
that.
everything.
They use that in court cases. I've had shitty things happen to me by friends, but they didn't intentionally do it. It was never their intent for that to happen. And I've had less shitty things happen to me by other friends that it was intentional. And I was like, oh, like, okay, like it totally changes the dial on my temperature by the fact that that was intentional, if that makes sense, you know?
Definitely.
Like,
Yeah.
are you trying to be an asshole? Are you trying to hurt me if you're in a relationship? Like, I had a girlfriend one time a long time ago. She actually went out to try to make me jealous. So she had she had certain actions that she would do to make me jealous. And it was almost kind of funny because the actual thing she did not make me jealous. But I was rip shit pissed because I was like, the fact that you're trying to hurt me or cause me to have a negative emotion, that's a deal breaker for me.
Me and Denny's always say it. If you're going to try to be this fucking game playing fuck, at least be better than what you're presenting. Trick me. If you're going to lie to me, I'm cool with you lying to me. Just
be good.
lie to me to the point where I don't know it's a lie. I don't give a shit. Lie to me to where I can't see your horse shit. If I can sense some horse shit, we're going to have issues.
But I
Because
think
now you
you-
think I'm fucking stupid.
But I think even if you don't sense horse shit and there's a 1% thing, because everyone has spidey sense. It's, you know, the gut feeling or whatever you want to call it. Like that stuff starts chipping away at a relationship, whether it's a intimate relationship or a business relationship or whatever. You know, it's I don't know. It's tough. I think that the lying stuff, I don't know where I fall on white lies because you can't tell someone their butt looks big.
Do I look fat in this, Becky?
Yeah.
No, you look great, Bird.
Again, it's intent. You're telling the lie because you're trying not to hurt their feelings.
Yeah,
you're not
sure.
telling the lie because you're like
trying
you
to get one up on
Yeah,
them.
you're not like,
Yeah.
haha, check that out.
Everything on this planet's intent. Everything.
Yeah.
You can't. That's why I'm not going to go on a social media rant. I get a lot of emails. Bird, stop yelling about social media. I hear you. But I do see problems with social media, and I think we should talk about that. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of fucking issues when it comes to this shit.
Yeah.
Well, we're the first real generation, us and the generations after, but that are experimenting with it. We're the first. We've talked about it before. We're the first wave of people to try it.
Yeah.
So they realized, all right, it's not that great. It's got a lot of good, but it's got a lot of bad.
Well, the reason why I always bring it up is because everyone is constantly throwing it down my throat. I don't necessarily love social media. I think it's cool if I was just intermittently putting things up and hey dad, or hey whatever. But when you have to be in that world, man, it's I always equate it to you go to bed at night and you leave all of your doors open and your windows open. Now, there's a good chance nothing may happen, but there's also a chance iguanas and fucking raccoons and rats
Anything.
and I don't know, murderers.
That's what I'm saying. People,
Depending
anything.
on and that's what social media is, and we haven't as humans caught up to what our emotions and how we're supposed to deal with that.
Yeah, it's true.
People think they are, but those are people that aren't on it all the time, which I applaud you. Life is going on. Social media is stunting us as humans on certain levels, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so we were arguing earlier. It's bad for development, especially for children, to be in beauty contests or anything that teaches you that lifestyle of superficial stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, internet gives you instant gratification. It's almost the exact same endorphin rush that you would get from being in a beauty contest or succeeding in
drug.
school or winning a spelling bee, any of the above.
Yeah.
I think kids are getting introduced to endorphin rushes much earlier because when you're young, you have to go through a lot of embarrassment and then you finally succeed and then you get the endorphin rush. Kids are able to experience it 5 times a day.
Well, think about when you were 10 or 11, 12, especially maybe even a little bit older, that 12 to 15 range where everything is so fucking emotional. Your buddy says
gosh.
something to you, or you had a bad baseball game, or
Or
the
you got
girl
a
broke
pimple
up.
and you're like,
You got
"Ah."
a pimple.
Pimple, the girl didn't return my note.
Any of the above is the end of the
all
world.
that. And then I have to go on social media on top of that. Lisa did not. She broke up with me. And then there's 9 dicks on social media. Lisa broke up with you, Bird, because blah. As a 14-year-old, maybe I'm soft. I'm going to struggle with that shit. If you don't struggle with that, you grew up in a hard ass. You're fucking tougher. I get it. But most kids are gonna probably not like that.
Right. Or if they make it through, like turtles to the ocean, they're gonna be so hardened, they're gonna have no emotions whatsoever.
I just feel like we've got this genie out of the bottle, and
yeah, I think it's just a lot for humans to understand, and for kids to understand. It's even tougher.
I think it should be an adult thing.
I do too, man.
It's just how you gonna regulate that.
Well, I have a couple.
But I'm with you.
I have a couple buddies of mine, and you're right, because you don't want your kid to be the odd kid that just never
doesn't have
social
internet.
Because I'm against that. I think as a kid grows up, you should probably start to have them experience a little bit what the world is really like. Mm-hmm. It's okay if they hear the word fuck at age 13, because you're gonna go out and if you don't hear the word fuck and you go out into the world at 18. You're going to be living.
Oh my gosh! You got to introduce it. You just can't use. They can't use it.
There's lessons with all this shit, and I don't know, man. It's speeding up to a level where I don't know if kids really can handle that shit. It's the first time in history that the kids have to deal with this.
I think the earliest that I would ever let my kid have social media is probably 16.
Yeah, my friends will not let their kids have it until about 14, but then they monitor everything.
I have friends that are doing the same thing, and they don't allow their kids to have internet at certain times, and then their kids are doing, sneaking around, or that's all they talk about.
You're right.
He goes, every time I go, all my kid talks about is internet and how we don't have it.
Yeah.
I think my
It's
roof,
tough.
my
It
rules.
is.
My roof, my rules. Is that like an old thing to say?
Beckett, you are making me hard when you say things like that. But you say those things now, and some people get offended. My roof, my rules. No, you have to sit down, have the kids talk. And I agree. You can't be a complete asshole to your kids.
Definitely not.
You have to listen to your kids. You have to have communication.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, you're the fucking adult.
You're the
you
boss.
Make the rules.
You're the boss.
It's okay if your kid goes to bed mad at you. It's
you,
okay.
If you're the CEO of the company, you got to listen to your employees. You got to listen to your employees.
Yeah.
It's important. But at the end of the day, you're the shoe that drops. You're the one that makes the decisions. You're the one that makes the decisions what's better for them and for the company. And I think as a parent, you make decisions on their health care. You make decisions on their finances. You make decisions on their school. You make decisions on literally everything until they're 18.
If I had a kid, I would be involved in every fucking aspect of their life. Everything. There's not a thing I would not be involved in, but you also don't want to be an asshole about it. So again, it comes back to balance.
Yeah. I'd chip my kid. I would. I think we brought this up on the podcast.
You would microchip him so you could.
I would chip him not like an iPhone to know where they are all the time. I would do it like they do with dogs. And God forbid my kid ever got abducted, I would put on location services and find the kid.
What are your thoughts on chipping a child?
I mean, when you put it like that, I would definitely not abuse that. I mean, think about how if you were a child and you're like, oh yeah, when you were 4, we chipped you.
It wouldn't be secret. It wouldn't be like a hidden camera anywhere. It would be like a visible camera on a reality TV show.
So I mean, if you make it all open.
But here's the problem with this, though. Okay, when you chip somebody, humans have tendencies. Okay, and if you're always, for example, if you're doing an activity, maybe masturbating, you tend to do the same kind of things. If you wanted to pull that up on a camera, you'd go, okay, my kid's masturbating. There are private things as a human. I feel like you should always have a privacy level. And if you're chipped, technically, you're really never private. And I don't know if that's a great human right.
So I
love what you're talking about.
I would maybe take it out at 16, and I would make my kid aware of it at 12 or 13 or whatever age I thought that they were mentally capable of knowing about that. But it's like insurance. You never really appreciate it until you hate writing that check every month. But until, God forbid, you get sick or you get in a car accident and you're like, oh my gosh, thank God I have that insurance. And what I personally would use it for, just like my dog, God forbid my dog got out of my yard or whatever and I couldn't find them. They end up at animal control and I don't know where they are or whatever. I would say, hey, in the off chance that my kid gets abducted or gets lost or whatever, I can turn this on and I can find them. Same thing with LoJack. Like, car gets stolen, you don't follow the car all the time, but if it gets stolen, the cops turn on LoJack and they can find the car.
I, without a doubt, hear your conversation, and of course, I would want to always know where my kid is at. But I'm also thinking about if I was 11 years old and I knew I had a chip in
How
my
would you
body,
handle it?
I would not fucking like that. I just wouldn't. I don't think that's fair.
But you also didn't like that you had a curfew.
It's different though. That's way less intrusive than a chip.
But
a curfew, you can still be an individual, and that's on the honor system. A chip is I'm watching you, I'm monitoring you.
So what if you had a company? This is a great idea. What if you had a company like LoJack where you can't monitor the location services? It's actually a custodian. It's not held by the parent, and there's a company that keeps it, lock and key. And if Susie gets lost and she's missing for 4 hours, we talked about this, the podcast before, and you're like, oh, how long do we have to wait to do a missing persons report? You're like, oh yeah, like they're at Susie or Bobby's house, or they're in a van going up on Turnpike. We got to send the state troopers after them.
Okay, chat room, email, all of this. This will be the main topic of the night. Are you for or are you against chipping your child? I see
a lot of good points,
but I also, do you see what I'm saying?
I see a lot of bad points
I
too.
do, man.
I see a lot of good and a lot of bad. I mean,
how about this? If 2 kids got abducted and one parent decided to not chip their kid and the other group of parents decided to chip the kid, I guarantee the parents that decided to not chip the kid are stoked when they're able to find the abductor.
But baby, we can do the cherry picking game all day long. Then you have 2 parents, a set of parents that are on the up and up that would never check on their kid, and then you've got these sinister parents that they chip their kid, they're watching their kid doing everything. I mean,
but you can do that with an iPhone
abusive.
Now.
This is great because it's so
tricky.
polarizing.
Yeah, it's very polarizing.
There's great points on both sides. You do take, in my opinion, you take away your basic human rights
of privacy.
Before you're 18?
Privacy.
Before you're 18?
I still think.
So with the
because as a kid, you're developing everything as a kid.
Right.
And if I'm developing this whole thought about, man, my parents they have this chip, they're always watching me. As a kid, I'm now not trusting people. I've got this feeling that people are watching my moves. I think it does. I think it fucks up the development of being a basic human. I could be wrong though. I'd love to hear it. Dennis, you get the floor.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, so for a long time, it wouldn't even matter until they get to about 16.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to become a big problem when they want to go out there on their own.
Yeah.
If you told them their whole life, hey, when you turn 16, we could take this chip out. It's like Rumspringa. You have the decision.
16?
Yeah, because, I mean, once you turn 16, I really don't think...
You have a car.
I'm just saying, y'all, you guys are forgetting that if you always are able to track somebody, every little thing they do there's tendencies, and people are very quick to pick up on all kind of tendencies, meaning you can never really be yourself because someone's watching your tendencies. I don't think that's natural.
This is a chip to find where you are locationally.
At 14, everyone knows what you're doing all the time anyway.
You're at the house. That's what I'm saying.
You're
when
at
you turn
school.
16, you can be going doing private stuff.
You're on the school bus, like...
I'm not for the chip, by the way. But I do see some compelling points in it.
Oh, if you had a kid and they were missing,
you never wanted to
chip,
go
it's the best
missing.
fucking thing ever.
100%.
I gotta play devil's advocate back here.
If you're just going for kid safety, I think it's the greatest thing ever. When you put the human element in there's just so much room for abuse.
Kid safety, yes. Human element, it's awful. Y'all let us know. Chat, comment. Do all that bullshit.
I
love it,
as with everything, it's down the middle. Some people like it, some don't.
To bring it back, I think I cut you off a little bit on your Denny's random facts. I know you have at least 1 or 2 more.
Are we going to go back to Denny's random facts?
And the podcast on something real nice.
Usually when it's guys, we go more sex. I think we got to talk about sex robots or something.
We can.
No, but I'm interested for the fact.
So what do you guys think was the very last letter added to the alphabet? I'm just asking for just curiosities.
So it's obviously not Z.
It's not Z.
Well, we all know it's not Z. It's the last one in the alphabet, but it's definitely not the last one.
Oh, it's definitely
added.
X.
X, that's a good one. You think because
Or Q.
xylophone, not many words. Q, also one that doesn't have many words. I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are.
You
guys all guessed. You both guessed exactly where I would have thought. I would have thought it'd be WX's, TU, all those ones.
Yeah.
It was J. In fact, J was one of the last letters added in 1633. J was supposed to end Roman numerals. So if you had VII, the J would be the end of the Roman numeral if you were doing 8. But then it slowly changed because it used to be an I noise. They changed it to like a Y noise, like a ya noise. It originally was called a swash, and it in the first publication was in 1633 where they changed it. They separated it, which is why the lowercase j has the dot on it, because originally it was an I that they added a hook to. Just throwing a little bit of
Don't let my silence and my resting bitch face say that I hated it. I loved it. I was reading a comment. I loved it, Denny's. I think you've done a great job.
All right, perfect, because I pulled that one up pretty quick.
So after the podcast, you can say, let's smoke a yash.
Let's smoke a yash.
That's great, right? That's our new word for dictionary.
I give you an A on that, kid.
I like it.
I thought that was great.
Give me a J on that one.
And do you have one more to close it out, or do you want to just go ahead and come
That's
on
a lot.
that?
I kind of pulled that one up.
You know what?
Quick.
That's good. I will go with
I closed my tab
to bring
earlier.
it back to. This is just a taste of what the people are saying, and just one comment about the whole chipping. Virginia Ramsey in the chat room says, Bird, things are so much different than we were kids. I agree with that, Virginia. I feel there's so many sick POSs it's almost a must. Now, here's where I disagree, Virginia. There've always been POSs out there. There's not a influx. They've always been out there. We just know about them more.
Yeah.
We know about them because of technology. But she goes on to say, you can't even let your child play in the front yard for even a minute. Here's where I struggle, because I grew up with a mother who was so over the top with discipline. Not discipline, but you can't go out and do anything. You can't let your child go out in the front yard. You can't live in fear.
Especially if they have a chip.
Beckett. But I hear what she's saying, but that's such a over the top.
I agree.
To the most extreme.
Yeah.
I get it.
You want your kids to be kids.
You want your kids to be kids too, because for every comment Virginia Ramsey says, and I am not at all picking on you, Virginia. I think it's a great comment. I think a lot of parents. My mom would agree with a Virginia,
right.
But then my dad, on the other end, who grew up in backwoods Pennsylvania, would say, no, let my son play out in the front yard. He's going to be... percentage and statistics say Jay Bird will be fine if he's playing in the front yard. So there's the argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, because, I had a lot of freedom in my childhood. I could bike anywhere. We used to bike. I lived in Orlando, so we would bike, to, Apopka. And we could go to stores. We'd bring money. We had money at a young age. It was just we were used to all that stuff. And when I would hang out with families where you'd have to stay inside the whole time, which wasn't a big deal. But I never lived like that. And to see a different, not to say, because there was a lot of things I liked about that type of thing. Because I had so much freedom. A lot of times it would have been nice to do more, family related stuff.
Sure.
But when you got home from work, if you did your homework, we could do anything.
Right.
We could go anywhere.
Wasn't allowed to do any of that. I do fight. We had 4 kids. I was the first kid. I was the third of 4. I was the first that ever got their freedom. And my dad was a big part of that, because my brother and sister are from a different father. And then I was the first child with my mom and my dad. And he really was instrumental on me. He told my mom, he goes, you have to let him be a kid.
You
At
do,
some
otherwise.
point, he has to leave the nest. And it was such contention between them two. Getting my license was a big fucking deal.
See,
my dad fought for my license.
I think the balance would be good.
Yes.
Because you don't need that much freedom. Kids don't need that much freedom. They'll want it, but they don't need it. And they don't also need that much containment.
So what would you say to that in terms of the chip conversation? If the kid gets way more freedom to be a kid in lieu of being aware himself or herself of the chip, don't you think that's a good balance? That's a good cost.
So they get
benefit
to live their
analysis?
life however they want, but at any point that there's an issue, you could find out where they are.
I think most
without letting them know.
I think most parents would be more open-minded and liberal with allowing kids to be kids if they knew there was a fail-safe.
Yeah,
Well,
if there's
of
a
course,
fail-safe, I get that. I mean,
yeah.
that's a good
but
point.
that's not life. We're living on fucking La La Land now.
Right.
We all would crush it if there was a fail. And I'm not picking on you, Beckett.
And maybe there's less crime too, because the criminal, if he thinks the car has low jack or the house has a dog and or alarm system or the kid has a chip, less likely to commit that crime.
Yeah, it was
It's a deterrent.
I always bring up the movie Minority Report, but when you walk anywhere, the machines know who's in the building because they can scan, and then all the advertisements add specifically towards whatever you're interested in. But you can't go anywhere. If you go into any location, they know all the people that are in the building, kind of like a chip. It tracks everyone. I imagine the future might be very much like that.
All I ask is when I die, you tell people, you know what? Here's the thing about Bird. If someone recommended a movie to him, he watched it. Every movie Denny's has ever recommended, Minority Report.
Yeah.
Oh, great movie.
I will always
That's
watch.
a good one.
If I have a close friend in my life,
You do. You
they
always watch
recommend
them.
something, I will always watch it. Now I may not like it. I love a friend recommendation. I feel like that is how most things get popular or most things become trustworthy. Somebody that you know or trust gives you the, oh yeah, you got to watch that. But I will always watch something. Give me something right now to watch that I have not seen. I'll watch it tonight.
All right, I'll think of something.
On the spot.
I did not.
You have 5 seconds, Denny.
The new Kevin Hart series. There's like 5 series, and it's like Entourage. No, you're not. No.
Yo,
You just told me you'd listen to it. You watch anything.
I was talking to Denny's back
I'll think of something.
here. No, I love it. No, I'll check it all out. We've been going for about 1 hour and 10. I do appreciate you, all you weirdos, hanging out with us. Vicky, we are wishing you a speedy recovery. Let us know the topics we're talking about. If you think we're full of shit, you want to argue, disagree, let us know. Argue it in a fun way, Denny's.
Yeah, I hear ya.
These are all fun arguments, Beckett. But thank you guys for tuning in. We love you all, and
Bigfoot is real.
What was that? What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. They have arrived. They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens?